+0. I turned 32 today. An unimportant year. Hope it kills me. But who knows? The revolution might work slow. This is 10 years of birthday gifts and a response to whoever the fuck wrote a poem when they turned 23 that inverted into me. Do you remember the law of fives? It's a fucking lens! But the world does not want to be seen. It's entirely too much and it hurts to stare straight in the face. But from 5, you can touch anything. 1. I lost a friend this year. The one whose name I was called once while giving head. We hadn't spoken in a few years. I never came out to him, I don't think. All the grief I've managed is a short eulogy, a compilation of his music, and the occasional Denokanizer. Every time I drink one, it's in his honor, and every time I drink one, it's suspecting that he probably didn't share my memory of sharing one with him many years ago on his recommendation. It was a small moment, nothing special, but it serves now. And I will never be able to confirm my suspicion. I wanted to quote Fergie here, but in all our archives, it's just him sharing things and me failing to respond to them. No quotes. 2. When I say I in a poem, does it mean 5 things? It means 1, the body that typed this, that speaks it, that exists in the world with a history and a projection toward the no future. It means you. 2, the listener hearing me say it, the reader being interpolated, the I in your head. It means 3, the unholy, perhaps unwanted trinity, the you and the I made one, the apotheosis of us through language. Does it mean 4? If it means 4, it means it aspirationally, striving. The I who has inverted. The I that the first I cannot but has to believe in. The I that the first I is pleading the second I to believe in, to recognize. The I that might return out of that trinity, that third I. But can it touch the world? Can it make 5? Can I touch anything? That other pronoun, the they, helps. 3. If that 23-year-old got anything right, it was loving communities and being unable to conceptualize property. I own more things today than I ever have. 2 handfuls of kitchen equipment, a bed frame. No assets, no car or home or stock or career or stable drive toward life, but still more. I wonder, if I ever do own, will I learn to miss? Or is that just the commodity fetish? Do you remember the commodity fetish? It's a consequence of the mode of production, capitalism, where relationships between people are obfuscated into relationships between things. A fun game. Take a look around and guess how many people are hiding. Take this handmade Hello Kitty. Ollie's hiding in it. They made it and gave it to me. To make it, they needed fabric, lace, buttons, stitches, stuffing. That's at least a couple factories. They needed to know how to stitch, where to get these things. At a rough estimate, I'd say this handmade Hello Kitty hides at least a dozen people. Except that's only counting the people who immediately touched it in some way, because each of those people was shaped by people who took care of them when they were sick, laughed with them when they were sad, fed them. Each was shaped by people who exploited them, turned their bodies into laboring abstractions, profited off stolen time, preyed on moments of weakness. It's not quite true that everything is everyone, but 4. In tabletop role-playing, saying is doing is being, and being is agreeing to a story together. A story, of course, is a collection of people alchemizing the raw material of rules, lines, randomness, and interpersonal histories into models of relationships, imaginary social structures, expressions of joy or regret, and tests of the limit of plausibility. If this poem is a testament to a decade of doing, it might run the risk of erasing the fact that this has been a decade of personal failure. So, I seized on one of the stories that tabletop role-playing games tell. To do it, do it. If you're in a fight, don't say, I roll to attack. Say, backed into a corner, I swing my battle axe, or release poisonous spores, or fall in love, or to do it, do it. Tell the story together with trust. It's the only phrase that's ever managed to orient me towards something resembling a future, because a told story becomes a remembered story, a clean kitchen one to cook in, and because, like every other bit of this poem, it is a way of being against atomization. A decade of personal failures can only be stomached if you can abandon the personal. 5. 5 lies at the center of the mystical hub, not because it has any special properties of its own, but because of its relationships. Anytime you find the need to do some arcane pattern finding, you convert everything according to numerological norms. At first, the 5s will be scarce, but if you break it down just right, you'll always end up with a 5. +0. This decade of Hello Kitty horror games and albums and podcasts and other gifts is a decade of crises of capital producing austerity and death, generalized precarity, proletarianizing. It's a decade of militancy repeatedly crushed by agents of the state and their militias. It's a decade that cuts off at the beginning of COVID. But we're avoiding the question. Can I touch anything? Is there a fifth I after the author, the reader, the apotheosis, and the aspiration? No. I can't touch anything. You can, though. And we must.